joined by Lewis Vaughan. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Aye, good, thanks. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Aye, no worries, no problem.
Just want to go back to the start with you and ask you what your early football memories are.
Probably just playing at school and playing for my first local boys club team called Inch Colts. It's just a local area where I'm from called Inch, a small place in Edinburgh. A council estate. I played boys club for a team called Inch Colts. That's probably my earliest memory playing football in the park with my pals on the hard gravel pitches and the grass pitches in the park.
And how did it come about that you ended up getting picked up by Raith on the 14s?
I played for Inch Colts for my boys club team for a few years, and I left Inch Colts to sign for Hearts when I was 8. I was at Hearts for 6 or 7 years. I was at Hearts for just for under 9s all the way to under 14s. I left Hearts at under 14s, and I actually signed for Leith Athletic Boys Club for half a season, and played for Leith Athletic. At the point where I left Hearts, I just kind of wasn't playing much, and I decided to leave to go and play football and enjoy football again with my mates. And most of my mates for school were playing at Leith Athletic, who were probably the top boys club at my age at the time. I ended up signing for Leith for the last 6 months of the season, just to get back enjoying football again. As I said, I wasn't enjoying it. I wanted to get back playing, winning trophies with my mates. Like, my mates were coming into school and having all these medals and stuff, and I wasn't doing it because I was at pro youth by Hearts, and at that time there wasn't much competition at pro youth level. So I decided to take almost a 6 month stint out and go back to the boys club and just get my feet back on the ground and enjoy playing football again.
And how did that compare going from pro youth to boys club?
I loved it because boys club, believe it or not, was so much more competitive because you're actually playing for proper points and proper cups. Where at the time at Hearts at pro youth, it's a lot different now, but there wasn't so much as a league table or any cups or anything. It was just almost like no friendly games, but there was no proper stand-ins, if that makes sense. So I loved going back to boys club for 6 months. It was probably one of the best things I did, to be fair. The boys club team at Leith Athletic at the time were unbelievable. Probably one of the best teams in Scotland. We got to the Scottish Cup final and ended up getting beat off Dice Boys Club 3-2 in the final in extra time. So I think we won 6 out of 7 cups that season. So I loved it, going back to boys club and playing with my mates. It was enjoyable for me.
Would you advise boys that were at a similar age to you when you signed for Hearts to go to pro youth at that age, or just enjoy boys club while you can?
I would advise going, especially when big clubs like that come knocking. You're never going to turn them down. But I learned so much at Hearts just for the professional side of the game. Obviously, boys club's a bit more laid back and isn't as professional, but it's just a different world when you play for a big club like Hearts. It's just, even at such a young age, they just had everything, and I learned so much with the coaches at Hearts at the time. I had numerous coaches there, and I learned so much. My fitness was unbelievable, and it kind of set me off in good stead. Even though I went back to boys club, I learned a lot about the game at Hearts.
Do you think that spell at Leith, when you went to Raith, do you think that kind of helped kick on because you were enjoying it a lot more again?
Definitely, aye. As I said, I wasn't enjoying it at the time, and when I went back to Leith, I kind of opened my eyes a wee bit to say, like, I don't know what to get used to playing boys club. All right, I took a 6 months out to go back and enjoy my football again, but I always had that fight in me and the fire in me to go back to playing professionally.
What was kind of the pathway at Raith to making your debut against Morton?
I left Leith at under 15s to sign for Raith, and I played for Raith under 15s for 6 months. 6 months, and then I left the 15s and signed. Left Raith under 15s, went to the under 17s, and I played 2 games or 3 games for under 17s, and that's when John McGuinn came to a under 17s game in Bathgate, and he seen me play. And the next game week I was playing for the under 20s. So I only played. I was 16-year-old playing under 20s football, which probably gave me a massive learning curve as well. We had quite a good team at under 20s at Raith. We had a few boys still playing. It was myself, Ross Callaghan, Ross Laidlaw, David Bates, Liam Gordon, Ross Matthews. So we had quite a good team. there's quite a good few names there.
It's a very good team at that
Raith
age.
Rovers, aye. So I played at Raith under 20s for, I think it was 6 months, and then when I left school in December, I signed my first professional contract with Raith Rovers on, that'll be 10 in 2012, January 2012. I signed my first 2-year contract, 2.5-year apprenticeship with Raith Rovers in January 2012, and it was John McGlynn who gave me the contract.
What was it like making your debut against Vaughan at 16? Were you nervous or?
Yeah, amazing. Aye, that was unbelievable. It came a bit out of the blue. Obviously, I'd only signed in the January, so 16 to make my debut in the championship. It was amazing. To be fair, I was quite nervous, but I think it was 3-0 to Raith at the time. But no, it was just amazing to make my professional debut.
When did you start kind of feeling like a first team player at Raith? When did you start to settle into that role?
It wasn't until I got a proper run in the team, which was under Grant Murray. It must have been about 3 years after that I signed my first contract. I was in and out of the first team. I was always involved in the squads and stuff after that season, after probably the 2013 season, 2013-2014, when John McGlynn left and went to Hearts. He left in the summer. I had just signed after he gave me my debut. Actually left the club to go to Hearts, and that's when Grant Murray and Laurie Ellis got the job. And I was always in and out. I'd maybe play a game and I'd be on the bench for a few, whatever. Come on as a sub and stuff. But it wasn't until I thought I was an established first team player until probably about 2015, 2016 maybe, where I actually played the last 6 months of the season and scored a good few goals and got a good 12, 13 starts under my belt. I really thought that was when I kind of established myself. Even though I was already involved in scoring goals now and then and coming on as a sub, but I wasn't really a mainstay until the second half of that season.
And what more senior players would kind of help you when you were coming through at Raith?
Guys like Callum Elliott, Liam Fox, Jason Thompson, Kevin Cuthbert was a goalie. I think Joe Hamler, stuff people like that as well. Brian Graham, John Baird was one of them as well. So they had good players at Raith to learn from. The boys were always brilliant with me, to be fair.
And I know you weren't involved in the squad for the final, but what was it like when Raith won the Ramsden's Cup? What was it like to kind of be in the squad then?
Hi, I was obviously I'd played the rounds before that, and I was always on the bench and involved. And I think I actually started the quarter final against Falkirk, but I wasn't involved that day because as I said, I was involved. I was in and out of the squads and the teams and stuff, and there was only 5 subs allowed on the bench that day, so I was left out the squad. So it was hard to take, but it was just unbelievable the day that I hadn't been able to expect Raith to win that. It was a total shock, but as you've seen for the celebrations after, it was unbelievable. It was a special day.
I think it made it more special the fact that it was Rangers that you beat.
100%, aye, definitely.
And fast forward a couple of years, your loan move to Dumbarton. How did that end up coming about?
Aye, well, as I said, that towards the end of that after the season after that, I think it was 14-15. That's when I started playing consistently. Is that right? I started playing consistently. I scored a few goals and stuff, and it wasn't until the next against season. My loan moved to Dumbarton. Sorry, I've lost track here. Before that, I played. As I said, that 6 months of the season, I scored a good few goals, 9-10 goals. And it wasn't until the season after that was when Grant Murray and Laurie left the club and Graeme McKinnon came in. And I managed to play the first 2 or 3 games of that season. And I scored goals, and Graeme McKinnon actually was brilliant with me. He pulled me in and said I was going to play. He was going to build my team around me, and I was going to be his main number 1 striker. And he was brilliant for me. And unfortunately, 3 games in the 2015-16 season, I think that's when I did my first ACL. I was against Albion Rovers at home. I remember it perfectly. I just scored a penalty, and I just went to change direction. Crumble basically, and that was my first ACL, 2015-16 on my right knee, and I missed it the full season. So it was hard to take because I kind of seen that as I was a mainstay in the team for the first game of the season. I felt like I was going to play the full season, my chance to kick on, and score as many goals as I can and potentially looking to get a move at a bigger club. And it was really hard to take that one because I had never had an injury before that. It just came out of the blue. I'd never had an injury. I didn't know what a ACL ligament was. I didn't have a clue what it was. And I remember the physio phoning me and saying that I'd done it, and I was like, sorry, what's that, mate? I didn't know what that is. And he told me, and then he just basically told me the ins and outs, saying I'd be out for a long time. I need to get surgery, blah blah blah. And it was so hard to take because I was only 17, 18 at the time, and it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, to be honest, because I had never, like as I said, I'd never been injured before, and to play football my whole life, for like 6 or 7 all the way through to 17, 18, all I've known and all I've done is played football, to get taken away from me in the blink of an eye was just, that was hard to take, to be fair. It was heartbreaking. So that was probably my biggest hit in football, probably because I wasn't used to it. It was just such a curveball at me. I didn't have any injuries, like I said, so that was probably my most difficult moment. And I missed the full season due to that. And it wasn't until I came back that Ray McKinnon moved on, and I was ready for the new season when Gary Locke got the job as manager. I'm back fit by this point. I think this is 16, 17. I'm back fit, flying, ready to go. Had a good pre-season. And I actually played the first 9, 10 games under Lockie and scored a couple of goals. But I was maybe had a bit of hangover for the injury and just wasn't that I wasn't ready. I just wasn't really confident in myself and my knee because I'd been out for so long. But even then, I still felt like I deserved a place in the team. I still deserved to play. And I ended up getting an injury around about October time. I think it was just a wee thigh strain or something. And I obviously missed a few weeks, and I couldn't get myself back in the team. And it came to about December time, and I hadn't kicked the ball. I wasn't playing. I was on the bench, coming on 10, 15 minutes here and there. But I just went and said to Lockie in January, I need to go out on loan. I missed a year of my career last year. I need to get back playing football. And that's where the Dumbarton loan move came in. At the time when I went on loan to Dumbarton, it wasn't really like no one really raised eyebrows at that, because Dumbarton were doing the bottom of the table at that point, and Raith were flying high and 3rd or 4th or something. So and there wasn't really any competition between the two. But when I signed for Dumbarton, the more games myself and Dumbarton won, the more games that Raith lost. Obviously, Lockie got sacked. Yogi came in. At this point, I'm still on loan. I think Yogi tried to get me back, but he couldn't. And they ended up just getting closer and closer.
How strange was it for you, the fact that essentially when you were doing well for Dumbarton, it was kind of dragging Raith further and further down there?
Aye, it was hard to take, obviously. As I said at the time, no one even thought two ways about it. It was kind of fine because there was so much a gap between the two. But as I said, I was obviously part-time at Dumbarton. I was going to Raith on the Monday and Friday, so I was still training with Raith even though I was on loan to Dumbarton.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard to take. If we had won on the Saturday and Raith had lost, I'd go on the Monday and I'd be buzzing, and the boys would be raging because they got beat and they were slipping down the table, and Dumbarton were climbing the table. And before we knew it, it was the two who were going to be in the relegation and playoffs, and it was weird, as I said, that going to Raith and the boys were unhappy, and it was difficult to take. Bearing in mind, I'm only 18 at this point as well.
Aye.
So I didn't think I've came through the youth ranks at Raith as well, so it was hard for me, like almost, well, technically relegate my own club. It was difficult. I wouldn't want another footballer to be in that position because it was horrible, especially at such a young age. And I've had some experiences with injuries and loan moves that some players would never experience in their whole career.
And I know John Hughes was kind of quoted at the time by saying that he could really do you back. Was there never a chance of that happening, or was it just out with the window and that was it?
I think a bit of both. I think it was out with the window, and I think there wasn't a callback in the loan agreement. So I think he maybe tried, but I think it was ever going to happen. So
when Raith went down, drink that almost in a selfish way helped you kick on personally?
Nah, I wouldn't say so, not because I think if they stayed up, I would have kicked on anyway. At Dumbarton, it kind of made me realise that when I go on loan to a part-time team and I seen boys coming in to train in with their work clothes on and their work gear and that, I was like, I didn't want to be doing that. I want to stay full time. It kind of opened my eyes a wee bit to the lower leagues almost. And I had a great spell at Dumbarton. I absolutely loved Dumbarton. It was brilliant. I went there and played games and scored goals. And unfortunately, I remember scoring at Tannadice, and it was the game. I think it was the second last game of the season, and we were playing on BBC Alba at 5:30, and Raith were playing at 3 o'clock at St Mirren, and Raith actually got beaten. Dumbarton just needed a point to stay in the league, and it was Marcel that scored the point. Marcel that scored the goal at Tannadice in the 78th minute or something to draw 2-2 with United at Tannadice, and that was the point that kept Dumbarton in the league and Raith in the relegation playoffs. So it was weird. It was unbelievable. It was, as I said, I wouldn't wish anybody to be in our professional player to be in that position because it wasn't nice. But at the end of the day, I'm a professional and I had to do my job.
How did you even feel then? Like, it's so bittersweet. You probably almost felt guilty at the same time scoring.
Aye, it was. At the time, I didn't know what the Raith game finished because, as I said, we were at 5:30 on Alba, so I didn't know the final score of the Raith game. So, it wasn't nice.
And when you went down to League One, what would you say the main differences and standards were there in the Championship?
Probably the quality, to be fair, and the pitches and stuff you're playing on. The pitches in the stadiums weren't as nice, they weren't as good, and as I said, that opened my eyes as well. I felt that the club was far too big and we had too many good players to be in League One. We should never have been in that League One. And I think when Barry Smith came in, he stressed to me that he wanted me to stay at the club and help them get back to the Championship, and I was more than happy to do so. And I had a very successful season that season in League One.
Was there any chance to move on at that time?
I think there was a few bits of speculation after that summer, after that season in League One season. I think I played every game apart from one and scored. I think it was 26 goals or something. So I think there was a wee bit, but there was nothing in concrete, and nothing ever came through. So I finished my season at League One in Raith, and we missed it in the last day of the season at home to Alloa. I think we just needed to beat Alloa at home, and we ended up drawing, and we lost the league on the last day, which was hard to take as well.
Raith were kind of in League One for too long, spending a few seasons there. Like you said.
Think so. I think we should have went up right away. As soon as we went down, we should have bounced straight back up. It wasn't to be. I felt like we deserved to get back up, but too early, kept going to the last game, and they got the rewards at the end of the game and end of the season when we drew 0-0 with Alloa and they beat Albion Rovers, I think it was. So it was hard to take that season. We put so much into it, and we just felt the final hurdle.
I wanted to ask you about Kevin Nisbet as well. When you played with Raith, did you tell he was going to be as good as he is now?
Aye, I thought Nizzy was different class. I used to love. I didn't play too much with Nizzy. I think I played 7 or 8 games with Nizzy, but I loved playing with Nizzy. We were kind of in the same wavelength. A great striker to play, and he had everything. He could run, he could turn, he could shoot, he could hold balls in, he could link and play off him. So I used to love playing with Nizzy, and I always thought he would go to a higher level. And
I can't have you on and no talk about your hat trick against Dunfermline. Talk me through that.
I think we were still in League One at the time, and Dunfermline were in a Championship. I think it was a Scottish Cup 4th round or something. It was an amazing day, to be fair. It's probably the best day of my career so far. No many people can say they've scored a hat trick in a Fife Derby, so it was amazing, and the stadium was sold out. It was just an amazing night, and all my friends and family were there, so all my mates came through the game as well. So that was an amazing day.
Obviously, you got promoted that season as well. Do you think that Scottish Cup game, and knowing the fact you could beat clubs like Dumbarton, think that kind of gave you confidence going up?
Possibly, possibly in the next again season, you've seen that when we did go up and we held our own, and we got into the playoffs of the Championship, and we done unbelievable that season as well. So possibly just after that Dunfermline game, a week later, for the best day of my career, and one Saturday to a week later, I'd done my second ACL at Brecon, and like as I said, for 7 days, for my best, I was high as a kite on cloud 9. The best day of my career to 7 days later, I'd done my second ACL lying in a hospital bed. So it just shows you how quick football can change and how quick life can change. So I'll never take playing football for granted, especially after it shows you how quick things can change.
Definitely. So on to the next season, first season back in the Championship, finishing the playoffs, like you said. Was that a surprise to you, or did you think that you could go and do that?
Aye, before that one, obviously, I'd done my second ACL at Brecon, and then I came back after a year out and I played 2 or 3 games. And then that was in the season before the championship. I done my third ACL after 2 games of coming back. I think it was 2.5 games. Yeah, I just scored 2 goals as well the games before that, and then that's when I done my third ACL on my right side. I was away to Forfar, we were winning 2-1. I actually just scored. So after 3 games, I'd been out for a year. I came back and done it again. So I missed out that whole the end of the season in League One. And I came back January, just 2021, I think it was last. Aye, when we got back into the season that you're talking about, just got back into the championship. We started off so well. We started off unbelievable, to be fair. I think we're in first, second place the whole season until the end of it. So I thought the boys were a different class that season. I came back that in January, just past, and I managed to play near enough every game towards the end of the season. Scored a few goals, done well in the playoffs and stuff. So last season was we're definitely punching above our weight.
And would you look back on that as a season to be proud of for Raith?
Oh, 100%. To come up for League One and do what we've done in the championship, it'll be hard to redo again. As I said, we got to the semi-final of the playoffs to get into the Premiership. So it's unbelievable. The teams that we've played, we beat Hearts at Tynecastle, beat Dundee, beat Dumbarton into the Fife Derby. I'm merely convinced it was on TV and in the playoffs. So it was just more than a successful season for Raith. We're definitely punching above our weight.
I think Dundee just kind of ended up on too much over the 2 legs.
Aye, possibly. Aye, in the first playoff game at Dunfermline, I always felt confident against Dunfermline because a few weeks before that we had skipped on 5-1 on TV. So I always felt good going into the playoff games. To be fair, I'd scored a double in that game, and to be fair, every time I play against Dunfermline, I seem to score. So I was always confident going into that game, into the playoff games. The first game was 0-0 at East End. They kind of held us out, and they were actually maybe they probably slightly had a bit more chances on that night. But when we got home for the second leg and it was 0-0, I was always confident. I managed to score again, and we won 2-0, and we went through to the semi-final against Dundee. We knew it was going to be hard, but I knew it was going to be hard, but Dundee probably just had a bit too much for us in the end. The first leg probably killed us, getting beat 3-0 at home. Although saying that, the ref didn't do us any favours, but we'll not talk about that. So we ended up going away to Dens and get 3-0 down, and I managed to score myself in the first 20 minutes, which got us back in the game. And if we managed to get another one, then you never know, anything could have happened, but it wasn't meant to be. So to get to the semi-final, to get into the Premiership playoffs is a great achievement for the club, especially coming up for League One.
And obviously working under John McGlynn that season and now, what's he like to work under?
Amazing. The gaffer's brilliant. He's been absolutely unbelievable for me. Through my injuries and through the support of me and giving me everything that I've needed. He's been unbelievable for me, and he's unbelievable for the club. I think he's a massive asset to the club, and Raith Rovers are very lucky to have him. And he could definitely manage at a higher level. There's no doubt about that.
And you've touched on it a wee bit earlier. I didn't want to dwell too much on it, so I think it's unfair on you, but just got your 4th ACL.
Aye.
Obviously, there's a sort of big emphasis on mental health and that now. Just how difficult's that been for you, getting that news?
Aye, it's obviously difficult. I just done my 4th one in training a few weeks ago, so it's difficult. I never seen it happening. It's uncontrollable. I didn't see it. There was no indication that it was going to happen, so it's hard to take. It is hard at times. I'm not going to lie and sit here and say it's easy, because it's difficult. It's probably the hardest thing I've had to do in my life, but I've done it 3 times before, so I'll try my best to do it again.
And how's your recovery going?
All right, just now just taking it easy now, icing my knee and try to get the swelling down and get the full range of motion back before I can get the surgery. The surgery is booked in for the end of October, so just chilling out till then, try to get my walking routine back to normal and be ready for the operation on the end of October, and hopefully it's a successful surgery.
And it's kind of been well documented, the fact that you've got such a good relationship with Raith. You've been loyal to them at times, I presume, and they've been good to you, obviously, with the rehab and stuff like that. Is that just mainly, do you feel as if you have to be loyal to them due to that, or?
A bit of both, to be fair. It works both ways. The club have been absolutely unbelievable for me. If they give everything I need to looking after me, for sorting operations out for me, scans, everything like this. It's people didn't see this behind the scenes, but the stuff that the club have done for me and stuck by me. There's no many clubs that would stick by a player after 4 ACLs. So Raith are absolute credit to themselves, and I appreciate everything they've done for me. So loyalty goes a long way in football, isn't it, much at these days. So I do appreciate everything they've done for me.
And if it's all right with you, we'll finish with the quick fire questions.
Sound.
So your best mate in football?
My best mate in football would probably be Ross Callahan.
Your favourite goal?
I'll say it, Ross Callahan and Regan Hendry the last couple of years.
Right, okay.
I think at least it'll start morning.
Your favourite goal?
My favourite goal, I've got a few. Maybe my debut goal, my first goal for Raith, for the winner against Hibs in the Championship in 2016, or my third goal against Dumbarton for the hat trick.
The best stadium you've played
in? Hampden or Ibrox.
The best player you've played against?
I'd probably say Haris Vukic when he was on loan to Rangers.
He was very good. That's a good shout, that.
I thought he was unbelievable. I mind playing against him at Ibrox, and I think we got battered that game, and then he was unbelievable. I couldn't get near him, and I just thought, if that's the level I need to get to, then I'm toiling, because he's on a different level.
Your biggest achievement in football?
Probably coming back for 3 ACLs. Hopefully going to come back for 4 ACLs, and there's not many players that can say they've came back for 4 ACLs, so hopefully I'll be able to do that.
The biggest moaner that you've played with?
Good question. Ian Davidson.
And the best five-a-side team the players have played with, and why?
Oh, best five. So am I picking a goalie?
Aye.
Goalie, I'll have to go for Jamie McDonald. I think he's been unbelievable since he came to the club, and his performances have probably shown that. I'll go one defender. I'll go for Kyle Benedictus. I'll go for a centre half. I'll go 2 in midfield. I'll go Ross Callahan and Regan Hendry. A bit of legs in there and a bit of a ball player, so we'll go they 2, and I'll pick one striker, which will be myself.
You can put yourself in. Go for that.
That'd be my five-a-side team.
Top man, mate. Thanks a lot for coming on.
No worries, mate. That's fine. No problem.